Hi everyone, this is Ludmilla, aka Mia, and welcome to my channel Heart Mind Equation. So this is episode 3 of my Emotional Intelligence podcast series. So today we are addressing emotions and the baby in the womb. So let's begin by saying that it is scientifically proven that our emotions, energy in motion, we call it, they produce chemical releases in our body from either a thought we have or from an experience we live, real or imagined. It is safe to say that emotions are biochemical responses from our consciousness to our body. Researchers have concluded that the emotions of the parents from few days, hours, even moments before fertilization will signal the first genetic die of the embryo. For example, let's take a couple living in extreme poverty and dangerous neighborhood where both parents are living in constant fear or anxiety. Unfortunately, what happens is that the fear-based emotion sends biochemicals to the bloodstream and from the bloodstream to every cell of the body, including the sperm and the egg. Upon fertilization between that sperm and egg, this fear emotion would also be transferred as information to the baby for his development, preparing him to be able to survive in the outside world if he gets to live in similar environment. That reminds me of a Bible verse from the New Testament, John chapter 3, verse 6, that says, "That which is born from the flesh is flesh, and that which is born from the Spirit is spirit." So it is to say that the embryo will not only be the expression from 46 chromosomes received from both parents together, but also from the parents' state of mind and state of emotion, highly influenced by their level of consciousness, whether they are aware of it or not. So from impression to our body, to expression in our unborn child. You see, during the gestation of the baby in the womb, it's not enough to be eating well and avoiding specific medication or toxic substances like drug or alcohol. Every thought, every memory, and especially every emotion or feeling the mother experiences influence the baby in his development. Usually, when the mother goes to her regular appointments with her OBGYN doctor, she's often recommended to avoid stress as much as possible. Sometimes the stress is not even related to a real experience. Sometimes it could be only the memories she selects in her mind that could be emotionally charged, emotionally heavy. In a workshop conference hosted by Dr. Joe Dispenza, we learned that significant researchers have shown that newborn babies from highly stressed parents have 1. Smaller head circumference, 2. Smaller forebrain, 3. A larger hindbrain, and 4. larger adrenal glands on their kidneys. Even the blood cortisol level of the baby is increased, and the serotonin level, called the happy hormone, is decreased. The consequence is that it decreases the possibility for the baby to express joy, happiness, and curiosity later in life. Also puts the future adult at risk for depression and anxiety. So those biochemical functions that affect the gestational development of the baby allow him to have a bigger chance of survival by giving him the characteristics that are necessary for fight, flight, freeze reaction. Although when we speak about the reactive mode from stress and danger, we don't only refer to physical danger. For all of us, or for the future adults those babies will become, the fight, flight, freeze responses can also occur when experiences some psychological stress, not only physical. Considering the fight, flight, freeze responses, here are some examples. So, an example of psychological fight response mode would be arguing a lot or arguing too often. An example of psychological flight mode response would be denying or ignoring an obvious situation or an emotion. And an example of psychological freeze mode response would be procrastinating, not deciding what we want to do, not prioritizing anything, or simply the paralysis of analysis. You know, what's unfortunate in all that is that the stress hormone, the cortisol, that the stressed mother experiences during her pregnancy, it comes to influence the baby's limbic brain. And the limbic brain is the part of the brain that regulates emotions. Indeed, observations show that those children born from stressful pregnancies tend to have difficulty regulating their own emotions later in life. In fact, research has shown that those children, after the age of 3 years old, tend to be more withdrawn, more aggressive, impulsive, and cry a lot. With all this, a question easily comes to mind though. Some people will say, well, if we already select the gene that will influence our baby from before conception, how is avoiding stress during the rest of the 9 months will overcome the gene expression from before conception? Well, we can answer that question based on the new epigenetic studies from an article written by Dr. Bruce Lipton, who's a cellular biologist. He was saying that our genes are considered blueprints, that their expression depend more on the environment than the pre-selectioned heredity. Therefore, the baby's development in the womb will be influenced by the environment that she or he is in. And when we talk about that environment is the mother's blood flow, always in contact with the baby's amniotic fluid, the mother's emotions, energy in motion, and the mother's belief system that is stored in her subconscious mind. So it is to say that if the mother changes her emotional state, from fearful to confident, from stress to serenity, or from resentment to gratitude, even. The baby's environment will change also. The biochemical release in the mother's blood flow from her emotion will change the baby's future emotional intelligence, as it is going to change the baby's limbic brain. Some people would also wonder another thing. Some people will often ask, well, what about the father's influence on the baby's gestational development? Well, of course, if present, he plays a part, as every interaction he has with the mother influences her state of emotion. Therefore, he influences the baby too. In the same way, the absence of that father will bring different emotional state to the mother, depending on how she interprets that absence. Absence that could be by choice, by separation, or abandonment. Different experience always bring different emotions. So how the parents choose to express their emotions about the situation is related to their own emotional intelligence. Depending on the emotional wound that the mother is experiencing during her pregnancy, the baby would develop certain personality traits as growing up. That future adult would be at risk of using different defense mechanisms in order to function better or prevent an emotional pain. The defense mechanism chosen is in response to the predominant emotional trait that the mother had when she was pregnant. That illustrates how the mother's emotions influence the baby's limbic brain during the pregnancy. An example? Well, there's the pregnant woman who is experiencing repetitive rejections during her pregnancy. She puts her baby, the future adult that baby will become. There's the risk of developing a flight personality trait in the future. When I say a flight personality trait, mostly to describe it like someone who avoids more than confronting anything or anyone. Someone who is rather shy, not wanting to be noticed, or someone who is even withdrawn sometimes, etc. The pregnant woman who has experienced painful abandonment during her life or is experiencing abandonment, the risk is to have a baby that could have traits of an affectivo dependent personality growing up. That is to prevent potential abandonment by someone he loves. Being dependent for some people is a defense mechanism used to ensure another person's presence, affection, compassion, and support. You see, the pregnant mother who has experienced several betrayal, for another example I need to give you, the risk is for the baby to develop, growing up through adulthood, to develop a controllant personality trait, as they would feel a lot of distrust towards people or towards life itself. They'll have a tendency to feel very insecure, always wanting to control situation or even control some people sometimes. Well, I just need you to understand one thing, though. It's not automatic that when the pregnant mother has those experiences that her baby will be born to develop those defense mechanisms automatically. It's the emotions sustained by the mother which will influence the baby to develop personality traits that will ensure potential survival. That is, nature always do this in case that the baby, the future adult, will get to live in similar situations. Those personality traits are only potential risks. We know now that the predominant exposure depends on the environment the child grows up in and the emotional experience he will have throughout his life. Those same personality traits can be emphasized if they get to live the same emotional wounds. Emotional wounds such as rejection, abandonment, and betrayal. And just like someone said, heredity holds the gun, but it is the environment that pulls the trigger. Indeed, our parents' state of emotion is the first marker that has influenced the development of our personality, started in our mother's womb. So, if you have appreciated this episode 3 of my series on emotional intelligence, feel free to give me a thumbs up, share it with someone, or leave a comment below. You can also follow me on Facebook or directly on my website at heartmindequation.com. Stay tuned and get notification for episode 4 of my Emotional Intelligent podcast series. And until then, this is Mia, and thank you for tuning into my channel, Heart Mind Equation, to unlock hidden potentials.